everyone. Appreciate being here. I don't know how many of you realize this, but it is a statutory requirement for the mayor to do this at the end of every year. Give a State of the City address. Those of you who were watching public TV last night saw the governor do the State of the State address. It's just part of the requirements of the chief executive officer's duties. And you are right, Brian. 2016, the previous mayor decided not to fulfill that, and you asked me to come and do it, and I think I led off with, I know where 3 of the 6 bathrooms are now. And that's how it started, but we've come down a busy road since those days in 2016. I think we put a pencil to it the other day, and in the 6-year period, we've completed over 50 projects in the city that have led to nothing but improvements. I'd like to recognize a few people that are here today. First and foremost, I'd like to recognize my daughter, Tricia, who's here to support her dad. Thank you, Tricia. God love you. I'd like to... Okay. Melissa, I'm not buying her lunch. She's off the list. I'd like to welcome, and please have him stand up, Mark Dowd, who's with Mike Braun's office, Senator Braun. Mark, would you stand up? Good to see you. And thank the Senator for his service. He does good work for us in Indiana. We appreciate that. We've got some thanks going to the Kiwanis. Like I said, this is something that I look forward to every year, and it's been the Kiwanis habit to have the mayor come do this. I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate having the media here, the Rochester Sentinel, and the Shopper's Guide, WROI, and RTC. You know, how many communities have a media group like this? Isn't this amazing? Very, very appreciative to have you folks in our community. And you just keep getting better, all of you. Thank you. We do have some folks here from the city that I'd like to recognize. I always do this. We've had a few changes in the group, but not many. We've still got a very, very, very strong senior team. Sorry for using that word, Shada, because I start out with the clerk treasurer, Shada here. Shada has been around for 4 more years than I have, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I'll be very honest. People keep asking me all the time, are you going to run for another term or whatever? And I've said a couple of things. I said, if I have gas in the tank, you know, and I'm still healthy, yeah, I would consider it if Shada Beeler were clerk treasurer. You would be crazy for taking on the mayor's job with somebody less experienced. She is a valuable right hand at the city. Thank you, Shada. Really appreciate it. We've got our chief of police, Andy Schatz, here today. Andy and his second in command, Lieutenant Campbell, Matt Campbell. We've got a police force that I can't speak enough to about how proud I am of them today. And some of you who've been around with me since the start understand what I mean. Our police force has done nothing but grow and become more professional and more valuable than one knows. I go places, you know, I go to the theater in Warsaw, the Wagon Wheel Theater, and they'll always have an officer working, and I'm now recognized. And it's not unheard of for that officer to say, Mayor Denton, you got a class police department over there. That's the kind of stuff you want to hear. One of the goals I had coming into office was the residents of Rochester, I want them to be able to answer 2 questions, one of them when they go someplace, what their name is, and then the second question that they're asked, where are you from? I don't want them to have to lower their head when they say Rochester, Indiana. And our police force are ambassadors for this community. Rode with Officer Haney this New Year's Eve. I ride with him every New Year's Eve. Didn't ride last year because of COVID, but the professionalism is truly, truly admirable. And I asked Lieutenant Campbell to come today. You don't get enough recognition. We gave him an award a little over a year ago, and the state did as well for his investigative work in preventing a school shooting here in Rochester. It was Matt Campbell who got that accomplished. And one of the individuals has been adjudicated and is in prison today. He has continued along those lines to investigate item after item. You know, we don't have the same situations that they have in Chicago or South Bend. We have the same crimes, but not just as much. But we've got a detective who has proven to me he's one of the finer detectives in northern Indiana, and I really appreciate having you, Matt. Thank you. I mean, another little story, but those of you who followed the damage that was done to our golf course, Lieutenant Campbell ferreted that out and had the two gentlemen in custody. 2 weeks it took. Maybe a month. But it was through his efforts we found them and arrested them and will be holding folks accountable. So really appreciate you. And Andy, the organization takes on the personality of its leader. Thank you. Fire Chief Tom Butler, he could not be here today. Unfortunately, COVID has not left the city untouched. Tom and his wife are recovering from COVID. I told him that's what you get for going to the Notre Dame bowl game, for crying out loud. Didn't come back with a win, but came back with COVID. So no, and he's recovering, but Tom's been a strong fire chief. He was instrumental in wrapping up our final project of the year at Christmas time, or just before Christmas this last year. Those of you who were watching, we dedicated the baby box at the fire station that is the saving implement for a mother who wants to give up a child but be unknown about it. We have a baby safety box now, and that procedure is put in place and is doing well. And Tom was instrumental in that through his membership and efforts with the Knights of Columbus, the Catholic Church. We have Dwayne Border. Dwayne, you're here. Dwayne's the street superintendent, and got Randy Williams, our project manager, with him as well. These gentlemen have been instrumental. We'll go down a list of projects here pretty quick, and I'll run down pretty quickly, but you'll go, holy mackerel. We've kept you on your toes pretty busy, haven't we? And again, if anybody's paying any attention, our streets look pretty clean. Downtown looks pretty good. One of the projects that finished up last year that we're real tickled to see after 3 years, the culmination of the Main Street revitalization project. Things are looking pretty good. And these gentlemen were involved in all that. The 27 LED lights downtown with brand new poles. These gentlemen were highly involved in that and working with our contractors to make that happen. I brought this newspaper, Wes, along when I touched on the base of the lights downtown. I don't know if any of you remember this newspaper, but on the front page they had pictures from 29 years ago. And there's a gentleman helping with the Christmas decorations 29 years ago. And what's down here, Eldon, on the bottom of the pole? What do you see?
2-hour parking?
I can see why you were so valuable at the REMC. He doesn't want to comment. It's rust all over the poles. 29 years ago, they were rusting out. 2-hour parking. See, you and I need to rehearse these things. Point being, those poles, lights didn't owe us anything. we were going to capture those and keep them and use them for other things. We got into it and we found that the bases were about to rot off. So, you know, you got your $50,000 car at the car show and you get a pole fall across it. That's probably not going to be a good day. So we've gotten rid of all that. These guys helped with that project. They made sure that our electrician got rid of all the overhead wiring and everything. So downtown's looking pretty good. And also put speakers on each one of the poles that allow us to have Randy and company at WROI play music for us, which we very, very much appreciated for. It was great at Christmas, Randy. Really was.
It's got you downtown right now, too.
Right, okay. Oh, I'm on downtown?
Yeah.
Do not cross on the yellow, okay? No, but got a lot of compliments at Christmas time. It was wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. But again, they didn't owe us anything, but it was Dwayne and Randy who were involved in that for the most part. Our golf course administrative superintendent, Lee Cutting, and the ground superintendent, Anthony Johnson, had their first year together out there, and it was a good year. We were coming out of the COVID situation, and the income was increased out there over the previous 2 years by $60,000, and several of the expenses that had been just killing us were impacted. Example, we went from like $65,000 for chemicals down to 42 by the investigation and use of generic products and such, which we had never done. So these gentlemen were doing some good work and continue to do some good work as we continue to get more participants. The more people you get from out of town who appreciate what's going on, they come back. So we appreciate those folks. Our utility heads. You know, a lot of people don't understand that at the city municipality, there's two separate businesses going on. There's the tax-supported business of the street department, and some of the administrative services and such, and then there's the utilities department, the water department that you know, is supported not by tax dollars, but by utility fees. Also, part of those fees go towards the waste department. The water department is headed up by Superintendent Derek Holloway, and the waste department is Marcus Halterman. And they have been stellar and very professional in their efforts. Shada is the overall manager of the water department. She has a support staff there at the city that splits their duties between the water department and some of the administrative chores, and that would be Chris Bryant and Karen Vitasic, Tina Rowe, and Carolyn Gray, and they are stellar at what they do. The city council that I'm very proud to work with, that has been very, very supportive. We have a good, fiscally responsible, conservative city council that have adopted the principles of, are these needs or are these wants? You know, this isn't monopoly money we're handling, this is city taxpayers' monies, and they've been very, very good with that. Of course, as you know, the city council deals with budgeting, and they deal with the legislative part of the city. They create the ordinances and the rules that we follow. That's Brian Goodman, who's our president. Some scoundrel by the name of Mark Smith. I don't know, you know him? There he is, Mark Smith, who I graduated from high school with. Good guy. John Garrett, Brian Fitzwater, Todd Wilson, Ruth Gunner, and Chase Thompson. We have a Board of Works group made up of the mayor and his two appointees. I did something a little different when I first ran. I advertised as I was running who that Board of Works group would be, because I thought it was so important that the voters know who the team was going to be, that would be going into office. Because it's very important. These folks are charged with the statutory obligations for the city, actually the day-to-day running of the city. And that is Rick Figlio, Rick, and John Little. Would you two please stand? Please. I'm going to embarrass you. Rick, what did I tell you about being on the Board of Works?
Only an hour every other week.
John, is that about right? That's about what we said?
That's what we said.
Yeah. These guys, thank you. These guys, they've certainly put in more than that. John has been involved in investigating property issues for us and such, and working with some of the other departments when it comes to certain property issues, because of John's background in the real estate world. Rick, because of his background in the mechanic world of electronics and such, he went through the specifications with our fire chief to buy our last fire engine and found some things and such. And we're always about saving the money, and these two have contributed greatly in helping with that, so they're very, very, very much appreciated. And if I'm around, they're going to be around. So the other boards and committees, we have our city attorney here today, Andy Perkins. Well, there's Andy. Did you ever notice the attorney always sits by himself? True. Yeah. I think in a former life you were a Maytag repairman, right? Yeah. No, Andy is a valuable part of our program, and you know, you've got to not only have confidence in your legal support, but you've got to have trust. And sometimes that's kind of difficult in a small community where everybody's dealing with everybody. And I appreciate the fact that Andy is very sensitive to any conflict of interest that might develop in our dealings with other organizations within our city. We're a small town. You don't see much of the conflict of interest issues in Indianapolis or such. Nobody knows anybody. Right there, Attorney Perkins? And I appreciate you, Andy, I really do. The chamber director's here today. Jillian Smith. I still want to call you Kramer, but you got married about a year ago, didn't you? 2? Oh, I'm sorry about that.
She's been through that year.
She's been through that. Yeah, congratulations. But you've done a great job at the chamber. You've been a breath of fresh air there. And I mean, the membership has just flourished. Thank you very much. Tiffany Futel is here with the FedCo group. She's our interim FedCo director. Stepped in when Terry Lee left. Larry T. Terry Lee left. And doing a nice job for us. Thank you for being here. Our redevelopment commission, which they're pretty important folks. You don't hear much about the redevelopment commission. I can tell you though that their position with the city and their involvement is going to grow this next year. We have a young lady who is a professional in the economic world by the name of Cheryl Morphew. That we met some time ago through Todd Barton, mayor down at Frankfort, Indiana, or Crawfordsville, I'm sorry, Crawfordsville, Indiana, who just couldn't speak enough of it, and has been working with us to educate us in some of the world. First thing she did was back in October we had a Get to Know Rochester session where she invited 6 of the top economic development gurus from the state, including Denny Spinner, the president of Okra, and some of them we'd never seen here before. They came, saw a presentation by Joe McCarter about broadband, saw Jana Vance give a presentation on the schools. Jillian gave a presentation on the chamber, and I followed up with a presentation on Rochester in general. They were blown away. And then one of them went to a 2-hour meeting with Cheryl and I with the hierarchy over at the foundry. Wanted to talk about some specific issues. So this group is going to become more and more known and more prominent in our community. We've got Todd Beeler, Mark McCall, Brent Kunert, who's he's financial director out at Shepherd's, who came to us from the Tipton, Kokomo area. Brent was interim mayor of Tipton at one time, so he brings a ton of experience forward for this group. Phil Bowers is the other individual on the redevelopment commission, and our new school advisory person who does not vote is Katie Miller. For 6 years it was Jenny Smith, and Katie is now joining us. We have a really strong park board. Folks on the park board have tons of acumen, business acumen, and that's led by President Kay Davis. Kay's right. Wave, Kay. There you go. And, you know, Kay is the former Chief Executive Officer of Advanced Magnetics. What we're seeing is we're seeing people join our committees and our boards who bring more than just a want to sit on a committee. They bring expertise. And boy, that's when you really start seeing things get done and happen. Mitch Hayes is another board member. Mitch was a former city council member, plus he had had experience in the region, working in the steel mills as an officer with the union and such. And Mitch brings a good perspective to us, and a heck of a fisherman too. We've got Shelley Coles. Shelley works over at First Federal Bank, and she's a pistol dick. Shelley, she's quite the gal, but she brings a perspective that we need right there. And last but not least is Alex Berlin, Vice President from Rochester Homes. And Alex brings a business acumen forward. By gosh, you better sit and listen, because he doesn't speak a lot, does he, Kay? But when he does, they're pearls. So we've got some good folks that are coming forward. Then we go to our water board, and president of our water board is Marvin Davis. And actually, they came as a package. So.
No, we didn't.
No, Marvin was our water board member for some time before Kay ever came around. But Marvin, former businessman, retired, has time to do things with our water board, and that is greatly appreciated by the mayor. We bought 2 properties this last year by our water plant that being torn down to make room for new wells as we need them. You know, this is all stuff that you can't wait till the 11th hour to plan. You know, if you're not planning for success, you're planning for failure. And this goes on all the time with our boards and such, and Marvin's done a great job there. He is joined by Rachel Stevens, who is the daughter of Caroline Stevens, who served on the board for several years, and her daughter just took her place. She stepped down, so we're very happy to have Rachel. And we have a new member, Cassie Smith, who again, she comes from the business world, and we're very excited to have them on board. Very appreciative. These are all names that you don't normally run into on a daily basis, but they're behind the scenes making it all happen. Tree board. Eric Bittinger leads off the tree board. Anybody who knows Eric, he works for the government. His world is trees. Department of Natural Resources. He's part of that. So we're very, very blessed to have him. John Bowers, also a retired businessman from E&B Paving, is involved with the tree board. Matt Frank, who's a current businessman downtown, he's a barber. You know, Matt from the Boar's Head Barbershop. And finally, Jim Mulligan, who was the senior vice president over at Pike Lumber, retired. spent a few times in the forests, so he knows a tree or two. Very good group. They just got done completing a grant, and we've used it already to do a complete tree inventory through our community. So we've got it on computer now. Where that oak tree is, it's gonna need replacing in about 2 years. So now it's not on the back of a cocktail napkin anymore. We've got some computer savvy as to where these things are. And they've done it. They've done it. They take that stuff very seriously. Some of the projects, those are the boards and the committees, but some of the projects, and I'll go through them very quickly, that we've accomplished this last year in the Parks Department. Gosh, Kay, you guys were busy. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Manitou Mountain was redressed. ADA equipment was put into Manitou Mountain. New rubber mulch. Boy, wasn't it a pleasure taking up the old mulch, Randy? And Dwayne. That was tough, wasn't it? And now it's nice, clean rubber mulch that's in there. And did the painting and refurbishing of Manitou Mountain, and the folks who came in to help with the ADA equipment said to us, we've seen these mountain things all over the state. This is the best looking one we've ever seen. How old is it? Well, gee, that project was back in the
94, I believe, when they started.
94?
Yeah, I think it's when they started it.
Yeah. And that was a community project. That was our community digging in and building that, and it's been maintained, and these people are saying, gosh, you got one that looks brand new. Then speaking of community projects, a few months ago, we had a couple mothers come to us, Wendy Zent and Andy Lee, and those ladies don't get in their way. They're tenacious. They make things happen. And you know, there's an old saying, if you want something to get done, don't go to the government, go to the private citizens. They'll get it done. And they did. They got the monies together, got the construction people together, and we now have a splash pad in our main park, which will be turned on for the first time this next summer. And the water department voted to go along with that program and donate the water, and same with the septic, and it's going to be quite a nice addition out there to our park. But those two ladies were instrumental in that. And of course our folks there, Dwayne and Randy, they were part of helping with that chore. We've got a pickleball court that is going to be the old parking lot behind the swimming pool where when the golf pro shop was over there, they had a parking lot. We just finished it to create a pickleball court. And again, private citizen. Scott Kistler is getting that all put together, and we should see that in the next summer. We put in a new cement boat launch at the public landing off of 14. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but for years we had gravel we had to go out and keep throwing in. And the boats had pushed the gravel out. I mean, you know what? Randy, you remember those days? About every week somebody was saying, oh, I can't get my boat out. There's a hole out there. So we finally figured out that if we took the same approach the DNR took with their landing over on Country Club Drive, where they had a big cement pad put in that people actually billed for that thing. We got one of those, had it put in, and that's been taken care of, and our boaters are all very appreciative. We put a new roof on the Round Barn Pro Shop. I don't know if you've been past it, but it looks great. And for years, it was leaking, wasn't it? We were having issues of it leaking. It cost a little money, but it came out of our capital budget. And, you know, as you start doing things and saving money here and there and accruing the money then in other places, you can do these kinds of things. We revamped the irrigation system at the golf course and upgraded it they tell me now for 10 years there's been a problem with that irrigation system. It got struck by lightning about 10 years ago. What we found out was the electric was all going to ground, underground, and creating all sorts of problems to the point where we were shut down for a couple of weeks out there. And now that's all been redone and changed. And we've done something else. We have taken AJ's well service out of that and included that system with our waste treatment lift stations and our wells at the water department. We got professionals, Peerless Water Company and such, that come in and know this stuff. Well, your irrigation system with its pump and everything, it's a similar item. So we just included that, now have the professionals that are taking care of all of that. Part of that is to inventory all those water speaker heads out there and put them on a computer. So you can tell just by looking at the computer what's going on with your irrigation system. Moving ahead in a professional manner. Completion of the project, we completed this last year, the ADA approved bathrooms and showers at the city pool, which, Dick, you were a youngster when those bathrooms were put in originally, you know? They needed upgrading, they needed ADA access, and we got that completed. We had a complete electrical upgrade at the main city park. All the overhead wiring is gone. Everything's underground now. And if you've been past the park lately at night, you're going, wow, are they gonna land an airplane out there? It's LED lighting. So that's helped to cut down on some of the problems you have when your park is dark, and your police officers certainly appreciate having a park that's well lit, right guys? We have new signage and flowers at our main park. We've put new roofs on the pavilion at the JC Park and the main city park. All these things, we've upgraded our security cameras and such in an effort to cut down on crime and such in our parks. You know, every once in a while you'll have a bathroom torn apart. Believe it or not, somebody will want to rip a sink off the wall or something. Well, last time we had that happen, we caught the guy. He was on camera. Thank you, detective. Seems to be the only guy who can make those people out on those pictures. He's got great eyesight, you know? We took some trees down at Fansler Park and installed 2 memorial benches. Thank you very much. Purchased a utility truck. Dwayne purchased a utility truck, a used truck, that is utilized daily to clean 8 bathrooms. You don't think about that. We have 8 bathrooms we have to clean daily. And back during the huge COVID pandemic issue, they were being cleaned 3 and 4 times a day. So, you know, if you get your stuff together in one vehicle and such, it makes it a lot easier to do. Tore down the old bathroom that was at the south end of the park, down there by the softball field. That thing was atrocious and was turning out to be quite the little rendezvous point for people who were doing things other than going to the bathroom with their drugs and what have you. So we got rid of that. The additions to our management system at the golf course are paying off. Our point of sale service software is reaping benefits. We now feel like we are sweeping every dollar that comes through there and getting it on our system. That's been working very well. At the street department, we've seen an attack on some of our storm sewer lines and such. When I say attack, we're out root cutting. We're taking specific areas that have been stormwater bottlenecks. For instance, the parking lot at 7th Street, we replaced the drainage system in that parking lot behind Hazen's building. Used to be the Cook Furniture building. That was kind of an interesting situation. That had always held water, and there'd be a puddle of water out there. Our street department superintendent, Border, says, I'm going to attack that. We're going to get into it, Mayor, and get in there and get the drain replaced and get it all replumbed. he starts into it, and you found a mess, didn't you? And this is what happens in small towns, municipalities. You start down to take the bad spot off the onion, and you just find out there's another layer, and there's another layer, and there's another layer. And that's what he found. J.C. John Little used to be in the J.C.'s, right? Their building was there at one time in that parking lot, right? Darn you guys, when you tore it down, you buried it all right there.
Hey, the city at that time tore it down and buried it.
Don Cook? Where is Don? No. But no, those things happen. I mean, you know, you're gonna save money so you don't haul it away. You bury it. Well, then it holds water like honeycomb. And we don't know it till we get into it. So we had to deal with that. And now it drains perfectly and it's all redone. Much like we did over in front of your place, Dick. Took care of the water problem over there in front of the bank, much like we did there. Dick, God love him, he told me, I think you're the mayor in like 4, maybe 5 terms, who finally said he was gonna do something about that and got it done, right? Thank you. So, you know, these things, you just keep attacking. We had an alley between 7th and 6th that kept having standing water. We tore into it. It now drains. They've done similar things over at 8th and Monroe, Washington Street, Sunset Boulevard. They've worked pretty hard at that. We did pick up a piece of equipment that helps us with some of these sewer type issues that Marcus is in charge of. We got a camera, right? That the R&R Visual folks, that's their product, and we bought a second-hand one from Warsaw, correct? And we're utilizing that quite a bit to see what's under the streets. So we're going at these things professionally and knocking them off. I guarantee you that when we're all through, the people who come along afterwards are going to say, why did they do that way? That's not going to be the case, because when we do stuff, Marcus, we do it right, don't we? With that being said, one of the big things right now that Marcus is involved with is about a $7.5 million upgrade to our waste treatment plant that we have regular construction updates and meetings on. It's going on right now, and we targeted to be finished by the end of this year. It's a huge project. Hadn't had anything done in about 30 years, right? You can't do that. Infrastructure needs to be attended to. So we're into that hot and heavy. Marcus and I sat down and negotiated a year ago, and we started reaping the advantages of it. A contract with Republic, the landfill, to process their leachate at our waste treatment plant and put the things in process that would allow us to do that. Now, leachate is the water the landfill generates. You wouldn't think of that, but they generate water, and it's collected. It has to be processed. They were sending it to LaPorte and Crown Point. Now we get it, and we made about $500,000 last year on the leachate processing, and we just gotten started. And Marcus has been right in the middle of that, and I appreciate his efforts. How many leaves do you think we pick up? Huh? You ever see these guys out picking the leaves up? And ladies, I should say, Tracy as well, Tracy Camp. How many leaves do you think we pick up? Would you believe this season we picked up 487 tons of leaves? We are a tree city, folks. Hello? They do that in Warsaw? They pick up the leaves in Warsaw? Great. Okay, guys. The guys from Warsaw still awake? Did anybody? You know, one of the huge projects downtown, like I said, was the 27 LED lights that everybody has commented on, and the car show folks just raved about how downtown looked. Well, in that project, in that process, we found 9 other street lights that surround the courthouse. And, you know, a lot of things, like I say, are kept on sheets of paper or whatever over the years, and there's no real record, and even Duke couldn't give us a lot of information as to who owned and was responsible for those lights. We kept saying, now county, those are around your courthouse. You've got to be responsible for that because the courthouse is like the embassy in the middle of Rochester. That's your spot. That's the embassy. No, those lights are the cities, and such. And so, okay, so when we discovered the condition of the lights, we decided city council put a resolution together. Marty, thank you very much. And we just agreed, listen, we're not going to get in a contest as to who owns these lights. Some of them are going to fall down. So our first project for this next year will be, and we've already put it in place, the lights are on order, to replace those lights. Now it's going to cost us $92,000, but we'll all be able to lay down and sleep at night knowing those things are changed out. And they'll be nice LED lights as well. We've got a big project for next year. We're working with the Commonwealth folks on. We're reaching out now and working with NDOT. Didn't NDOT do a great job with 14 9th Street? Doesn't it look wonderful? My gosh, there were places they took that down 3 feet away, 2.5 feet. Yeah, got down, and I was thinking they were going to find Jimmy Hoffa at any time, but they had to get down to a good base, because what happens is it starts to erupt with all the traffic and everything. Your base starts to go away, and you start to see sinking, and then you have water issues. So their engineers did it right. They went down and started from about 2.5, 3 feet down and built it up, and then paved it in the right way. We are going to take on the rest of it from 9th Street, clear to the north, out to cross the railroad tracks. We go to the railroad tracks, and not only do a similar job with the street, but it's going to give us the opportunity to upgrade and practically double the size of our storm water artery. The main artery for our storm water goes through Main Street. Everything comes to Main Street and goes out to the north. You've seen Main Street flooded at times. You've seen some flooding spots elsewhere on side streets or whatever. We haven't done anything with storm sewers since there were horses on those streets. So it's time. And we're going to use some of our ARPA money, and we're going to reach out for a community crossing grant. And but that's going to be a minimum of $2 million. But when it's done, it's going to be done right. We've got people coming to the community who are investing in our community. And I mean, it's their expectations. If they have a store or a restaurant that they put in our community, they don't want to see, when it rains real heavily, water running through their front door. There's an expectation there, and it's just the right thing to do. So that's going to be one of our big projects for next year. We're going to build a new salt barn, new salt environment out at the street department. We've got bio covers that we're replacing, or that we are putting over our clarifiers. If you remember, there was a pole building that fell down out there years ago. The previous administration wanted to protect those clarifiers and keep them from freezing by building a pole barn over them. Well, that's a high humidity environment. Pole barns don't last very long in high humidity. And so it dilapidated and fell down. Well, now we're going to go back and do it right. And thank goodness we've had good insurance, right, Shada?
Yes.
Yes, Shada says you overwhelm me. Good,
I was looking
good
at our
insurance.
agent. We've got a good team as well helping
Yes.
us with that.
You betcha. It's an expensive project, but it's covered by insurance. So we're going to do it right. And that's aside from our waste treatment upgrade that's going on out there. We've had plans to do something, and if we get into it, it'll be towards the end of next year and possibly not till 2023. But we've had plans to do something with Apache Drive out south of town, which is, you know, in the shopping center area out there, you know, where Schnabeltier is located. The Apache Drive would be the drive that would connect that area with Highway 14. And we've got plans to do that, which includes storm drainage as well. So that's a major project. It's on our to-do list. And like I said, all these things are part of your planning process. 2, 3, 5-year planning process. We're going to try for an early start to our sidewalk grant program that we obtained a year ago. Federal grant for about $600,000 to replace and build several sidewalks throughout our community. And you're gonna be seeing activity there. Hopefully, we're hoping for next year at the latest. We might be able to get some go ahead from the feds by the end of this year. And last but not least, and Dick, keep your ears open on this one, because this one I've waited till last because it's very important, but it's very expensive. Our swimming pool is in trouble. Over 50 years of swimming pool efforts there, and it's needing some major work. We've got a couple of engineering firms that are going through and evaluating it, and it's something that by however means we can do it, we're going to get it done, because it's an important fixture to our community. God bless Dick Belcher. He was instrumental in helping get that pool put out there. Dick, we had 5,000 kids go through there last year. 5,000, you know? As far as making an impact to our community, that thing, every summer, the wheels are running off of it, and literally the wheels have run off of it. So we're going to be getting into that. You're going to be hearing more and more about that. That is a rundown of what happened last year. It kept everybody pretty challenged, and needless to say, the person who I had the most empathy for was Shada Beeler, because she kept running from one meeting to the next and saying, "Mayor, slow down, slow down." But,
I just said she exhausted me.
I know, but we got her done. We got her done. So.
Yes, we did.
Before I go into my last piece of business, which, you know, I started in 2016 naming a Citizen of the Year, and this was based on my watching for a year, people that were involved in service for our community, who may not get the most recognition in the world for it, but have done it and done it for quite a while. I would pick out and like to represent them with an award at this time. And you know, there's a gentleman that I've known and loved for practically all my life who told me the best mantra you can carry in this world is to leave this place better than you found it. And that's my new mantra that I carry every day, and it's who I look for when I give this award. So before I give that award, does anybody have any questions? I can answer it quick. Oh my God, a Board of Works member. Look out. They know way too much stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Okay.
The greatest concern in people contractors that I've talked to, excuse me, in the last several months, has been a concern about the project at the south end of town and the long-range repercussions if something like that happens. Could you elaborate a little bit on that whole project?
You're referring to the Manitou Meadows
Yes.
development project.
Yeah.
The gentleman from Chicago, the Realty Metrics Development Group is talking about. Yeah, I'm going to be very candid. There are some concerns I am very concerned as a mayor. I think the one item on the list that is concerning, that gets my attention right away, is 660 low-income apartments. That's a lot of apartments. And we're not talking about, jobs coming to the community. You're talking about possibly increasing your population by 2,000. We've had some meetings with the developer, got some of our questions answered regarding that issue. The study that we did just to get sewer and water to that project would be a $14.5 million venture. And that's, typically when we have a development project, the developer puts all that in, pays for all of that, and then dedicates it over to the city to maintain. That's typically how that works. That's a lot of expense, a lot of infrastructure. One of the other concerns that came up during the engineering study from our engineers, Commonwealth, was you're taking 85 acres of pervious ground and turning it into impervious ground. In other words, paving and cementing. You're going to have runoff. And where is that all going? You've got Minnow Creek right there. And as we know, we've had some issues with Minnow Creek. So, there's a lot of due diligence left to be done, but it's all going to come down to money and what you have when it's all over. I can tell you right now, low-income housing to that extent, like I said, with a possibility of 2,000 people. We're not talking about satisfying just our needs here. You're talking about importing people, increasing your population. There's areas we haven't even looked at yet, like public safety. How big would our police force have to be? And we don't just sit around and think about these things. We talk to other people. We've talked to folks in Kokomo. Kokomo just went through it a couple of years ago, and things that come along with it. Now, getting these questions answered and doing this due diligence is all part of this process. There's a meeting tonight that if anybody's interested in, it's the first step in zoning exceptions from the county. There's another issue there. The property, the 83 acres or such, is half of it is county and half of it is city. So the zoning exceptions for the apartments and a YMCA that's being discussed would have to go through the Board of Zoning Appeals for an exemption. And I just mentioned a while ago, we have the city Board of Zoning Appeals. So I believe after tonight, there's a meeting January or February for the city BZA. So those are important meetings. If you want to know what's going on, you should probably go and listen to the questions that I assume will be posed. Does that answer your? Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, like I say, I get a great deal of pleasure out of this next part. I saw a few weeks ago an article in the Shopper's Guide, and talked about a gentleman who for about 50 years had been serving his community by virtue of being part of the Eagles group, and he has taken many chairs in the local Eagles, has taken some chairs now at the state organization, and has just had a heart for service for over 50 years, supported by his wife, who has a similar heart. This man, I just can't tell you how far he has climbed in 50 years in his ability to reach out and serve his fellow man. I'm very proud to know him. And my Citizen of the Year award goes to Mike Lyons. Mike, would you step forward? Tied for mine?
You got me.
I got you?
You got me good.
Well, I want you to stand up here and listen to me read this, because this says it all. Mike Lyons, Citizen of the Year for 2021. Mike has served his community in numerous leadership positions with Eagles Lodge number 852 in Rochester. For over 36 years, these positions have been both local as well as state affiliated. A true example of a lifelong member of our community with a heart for service and loyalty, not only to the Eagles, but to his employer of several decades, Torx Products, and of course his wife, Lois. In Mike's own words, and I quote, "We are a community of friends. It is all about people helping people. It is with great pleasure and respect that I create this presentation to Mike Lyons, the 2021 Citizen of the Year." Congratulations. Now you gotta say that in the microphone here, buddy.
Okay, I am high enough for that. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for this. I've never expected this.
Well, if you'd expected it, you wouldn't have been invited.
That is a good point. I'd like to thank you, but as they say, Eagles is people helping people. And we are a nonprofit. And the Eagles, when we are at the Eagles, we raise money for all the doggone charities, cancer. Back there I do have a paper I could go on and on, but everything we make goes to all kinds of charities, heart, cancer, diabetes, spinal cord. But in fact, the wife and I have been, with my wife Lois, we've been to every Eagles in Indiana at least one or more times. We've been in Michigan, well, you name it, we've been there. All I can say from the bottom of my heart and my wife, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for this.
I can't let it go without telling this story.
I know what it's going to be about.
Yeah.
You
His service.
want to bet $5?
No, I won't bet you $5, but yeah. This service goes clear back to the days when Marty Smith and I played Little League Baseball, and this guy was in the league playing ball too. And he was kind of ornery back then. He'd get in a little trouble once in a while. Once in a while there'd be candy bars missing from the concession stand, or at worst, cigarettes maybe, yeah, back in the day. And my father was involved with the Little League pretty heavily, and they were building what was the Babe Ruth diamond just east of the Little League diamond, that big diamond. Well, Middle Creek runs right underneath that, and it was all muck and everything. It was a rock pile. And Mike and three other guys who were, paying their dues to the community spent how many days picking up rocks?
Probably about 2.5 weeks. The rocks did get bigger every day.
And the rocks got bigger every day. Well, that's because they kept working their way up. But no, thank you very much, man. You greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what I thought you were going to bring up about the skunk?
Oh, the skunk? No, we won't talk about that. No, we won't talk about it.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
You betcha. And thank you all. Thank you much.